So we're about to make some Castile soap here at Bear Farms. It's one of the products that we make. We do a few cosmetics, and I thought it would be cool to show you guys how we make our soap. It's 100% olive oil, and we add maple syrup. That's really the only additive. Oh, and a little bit of salt as well. This is pink Himalayan sea salt here. And the first step to making the soap is to create lye water. Lye is sodium hydroxide. And it's a pretty simple chemical that you find naturally by burning hardwood, and you get it from hardwood ashes. I don't know how they source this nice chemical lye though, that's in little balls, pellets, something like that. But we're going to go ahead and use this stuff instead of hardwood ashes for this demonstration. The first thing that we're going to do is add a tablespoon of salt to 310 grams of water. It's important that anything that comes into contact with lye is only used for soap making, or anything that involves lye, because even after you wash it or boil it or whatever, it can still be hiding in little crevices. So this particular knife is only used for soap making. Oh, and make sure to add gloves to your hands when you add the lye to the water. Never add water to lye, because that can cause an explosion. That's the most dangerous part of soap making. And make sure to do this process in a well-ventilated area. I always do it outdoors. So that was 119 grams of sodium hydroxide, or lye, and you need to stir it now. And this will cause a chemical reaction which will get very hot. And it also produces a gas which you definitely don't want to inhale, so keep your head away from this sort of steam that's coming out. You never want to inhale that directly. You want to make sure that's really stirred up well. And there we go. Now we're going to wait for that to cool down. Oh, and there's a little bit of junk in there. There's always a disadvantage to doing stuff outside, but it's much safer for your lungs. Okay. So now we wait about 20 minutes or so for the water to cool down. We're going to do the next process of the soap making, where we add the lye water here to 935 grams of olive oil. And it's important to use regular olive oil and not extra virgin. Extra virgin it's actually okay to use. It just it's a little bit longer to dry out, and you need to let it set in the molds a little longer. So if it's your first time making soap, I suggest you use regular olive oil or pumice olive oil. So give that a final stir. And we're going to pour the lye water into the olive oil. And you can see the reaction happening immediately. The olive oil begins to solidify. Then you get a hand blender. And you want to achieve what's called trace. It's where when you drag an object through, it'll create sort of a line. So you can see there's a very thin sort of line, they call that trace. This is a very thin trace, So we'll do that again. You can see sort of the lines remain. We're going to make it a little bit more thick. And here you can see it's tracing up well. Trace is a little thicker, you kind of want that. And now we're going to add the maple syrup. You do this after you achieve trace. Make sure your blender doesn't fall. And we're going to put in 3 tablespoons. You just want to stir that in really lightly. You don't really have to reactivate the hand blender. And now we're ready to pour it into the mold. We're just going to pour the soap into the mold. Alright, it's been 3 days and we're now ready to take the soap out of the mold. And this is pretty easy to do, especially if you have a silicone mold like this. You just sort of push it from the bottom and it pops right out. And you just place it on a rack. And the soap has to sit there for at least 1 month before it's good to be used. You really want to have it sitting there for 3 months though, I'd say, before you want to use it, just to give it more time to dry out. And it's really best after 1 year or more. Yeah, and that's pretty much how you make soap. Thanks.